Hey, welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to tackle a problem that is, well, deeply human, that huge gap between knowing the right thing to do and actually doing it. And we're going to unpack this whole thing through a timeless story, one where the hero turns out to be the person everyone was expecting to be the villain.
So let's just dive right in with the big question for today. Is knowing the right path the same as actually walking it? It sounds simple, right? But man, the answer tells us so much about how we really live our lives.
All right, so the story, which comes from the Gospel of Luke, kicks off with a kind of confrontation. You have this expert in religious law who comes up to Jesus. But get this, he's not there to learn. This isn't a student looking for a teacher. This is a test. He's trying to put Jesus on the spot. So he walks up and asks this massive question, "Master, what do I have to do to inherit eternal life?" But here's the thing, his whole motivation is off. He's not actually looking for truth. He's trying to trap Jesus with a question that he, as a top scholar, already thinks he knows the textbook answer to.
Now, before we get too hard on this guy, let's kind of pump the brakes for a second and ask ourselves, do we ever do the same thing? We might not use that same fancy language, but we test God in our own modern ways all the time, maybe without even realizing it.
I mean, think about it. Ever ask for some kind of big sign before you'll take a step of faith? Or, tried to make a deal with God. Hey, if you get me through this, I promise all. You know how it goes. When we're going through a hard time and we start doubting his promises, aren't we kind of putting his character on trial? It's really the same thing the expert was doing.
So how does Jesus handle this loaded question? He does something absolutely brilliant. He completely sidesteps the trap. In fact, he totally flips the script and turns the question right back on the man who asked it.
Jesus just looks at him and asks, "What's written in the law? How do you read it?" And it's a genius move. He's acknowledging the man's expertise, but he's forcing him to put his own cards on the table. He's basically saying, "You're the expert. You tell me," putting the ball right back in the questioner's court.
And to his credit, the expert knows his stuff. He doesn't even hesitate. He gives a perfect A+ answer, blending two different scriptures together to get to the absolute heart of the law.
First, he pulls from the book of Deuteronomy, the command to love God with everything you've got, your heart, your soul, all your strength, and all your mind. It's a command for total 100% devotion.
And then he nails the second part from Leviticus, and love your neighbor as yourself. You put those two together, and it's the perfect summary. The expert knows the path, no doubt about it.
So Jesus looks at him and says, "Yep, you nailed it. Do that and you'll live." And right here, this is where everything gets tense. Because the real point is, can anyone actually do that perfectly? I mean, really, can you love God with everything you have, all the time, and love every single person exactly as much as you love yourself? The honest answer has to be no. It's an impossible standard.
And you can just imagine the expert feeling the crushing weight of that. He knows he doesn't measure up. And what do we do when we know we're in the wrong but we don't want to admit it? We start looking for loopholes, for excuses. And that's exactly what he does.
So he asks a follow-up question. It sounds clever, but really it's just an attempt to shrink his responsibility. He asks, "And who is my neighbor?"
Let's be really clear about what's going on. He's not trying to get a deeper understanding of love or community. He wants a checklist. He wants Jesus to give him a nice, short, manageable list of people he has to be nice to so he can check those boxes and, feel good about ignoring everybody else.
But Jesus doesn't play that game. He doesn't give him a list. No. Instead, he gives him a story. A story so powerful, so unexpected, that it's been changing the world for 2,000 years. The parable of the Good Samaritan.
So the story Jesus lays out is just this incredible contrast. First up, you have the religious insiders, a priest, then a Levite. They both see this poor guy beaten and left for dead on the side of the road, and they both literally cross the road to avoid him. They knew the law inside and out, but then someone else comes along.
And this is where the story just flips everything on its head. The hero is the one person everyone in that crowd would have immediately pegged as the villain, a Samaritan. These were the hated outsiders. But he's the one who sees the man and feels this deep compassion. He's the one who acts. He cleans the guy's wounds, puts him on his own animal, takes him to an inn, pays the bill, and even promises to come back and cover any extra costs.
So with this one story, Jesus just blows up the expert's whole question. He shows him that being a neighbor has nothing to do with your job title, your religion, or your ethnic background. It's not a category you fit into, it's what you do. It's about choosing to show mercy to whoever God puts in your path.
Okay, but the story gets even deeper. Its power isn't just in the moral lesson. For centuries, brilliant thinkers like Augustine saw another layer of meaning hidden inside it, a kind of allegory where every character stands for a much bigger spiritual reality.
So in this way of looking at it, that guy on the side of the road, that's all of us. That's humanity, beaten down by sin and left for dead. The priest and the Levite, they represent religion and the law. Good things, sure, but in the end, they're powerless to save us. And the Samaritan? He becomes a picture of Jesus Christ himself, the ultimate outsider who comes down to our messy world to rescue us, heal us, bring us to a safe place, the church, and promises that one day he'll be back.
And that brings us right back to where we started. That expert, the religious scholar, he had all the right answers. He knew everything about the way. He could quote all the verses. But the Samaritan, the despised and rejected one, he actually walked in the way. He lived it out with real, messy, costly compassion.
And so the story leaves us with one last really challenging question. And it's not for the expert anymore. It's for you. It's for me. Is our life defined by simply knowing the right things? Are we just living about the way, or are we living in it? Actually stopping for the person who's hurting, showing mercy when it costs us something, and putting all that knowledge into action.